Trump. We gathered some of them at the Old State House in Hartford, Connecticut, to find out whether they think Russia meddled in the U.S. election. How many of you, raise your hands, are concerned about the Russia implications and allegations that you've heard? Why aren't you worried about any possible ties between the Trump team and Russia?
Because that's what they're supposed to do during campaign. I mean, you know, dozens of diplomats who meet with senators and congressmen. A lot of people misunderstood, I think, when Trump compliments Putin. You might respect them just because of what they've been able to accomplish. And if you look at Putin, even though we don't agree with what he does, as far as his agenda, he's done a pretty good job of accomplishing it in Russia. But people on the left have misconstrued that as meaning that Trump wants to be like Putin.
But if you're saying it's business as usual, lots of people meet with Russian diplomats, then why didn't Michael Flynn and Attorney General Jeff Sessions disclose it?
He came forward after and said that he had met with 10 or 12 other diplomats through the course, I don't remember if it was that week or that month. It's what they do.
In the context of
it's just what they do. Right,
and,
so
I mean,
it's...
We have this Russophobia, like, in place from the Cold War or something. I mean, the United States has wholesale surveilled hundreds of millions of its own citizens vis-a-vis the NSA situation that Edward Snowden revealed X number of years ago. And we're pointing our fingers all over the world at how bad this person is and how bad...
Do you think...
meddling in their business?
Do you think we're as bad as Russia?
I don't think we're not even close to as bad as Russia. I don't know enough about Russia. All I know is, when's the last time Russia actually did something terrible to the United States?
Do you think that Ronald Reagan suffered from Russophobia?
I don't know. I don't know.
That's different. That's a totally different time. Totally different. Well, I mean, you had communism. You had. I mean, that was a totally different time in the world. I don't think comparing the Russia of Reagan to the Russia of today.
Does anybody here think that Russia meddled in the election?
Possibly. I think that we have to be very careful with Russia. I feel that there should be a mutual respect between the United States and Russia. But I think that I am concerned, but I think that we should just listen to history in regards to Russia as far as walk softly and carry a big stick.
What does that look like
to me?
Yeah.
Is building up our own military, being in a negotiating place of strength and power.
Look what happened when we went looking for trouble in the Middle East with weapons of mass destruction. Look what happened. It destabilized the whole region. When we start crossing other people's borders, meddling in their sovereignty at our own expense, the instability is grave and consequential.
But the question is whether they meddled in our sovereignty.
Well, and so far everything we've heard is that they have not had any impact on what happened here.
Wait a minute. Everything that we've heard is that more than a dozen intel agencies said they did meddle. Are you comfortable with that?
Comey
Go
has
ahead.
said that
they did meddle and that they're still investigating this.
Comey has said, though, that there's no proof.
They did hacking.
Comey has said, though, that there's no proof that there was any change in the outcome.
So what? Are you comfortable that they tried?
Well, I mean, the Chinese try, the North Koreans try. I mean, that's just part of international relations.
We just accept that.
Dealing with no, I'm not saying accept it.
It's this collusion between Trump and Russia. That's what's false.
They're basing collusion on whatever it is they have on Carter Page, Roger Stone, Paul Manafort, Michael Flynn. That's what the FBI is investigating.
Left the administration.
But what if he did something before he left?
He got rid of him because he was ineffective.
I'm very concerned about that.
Why? Why are you concerned about it, Tanya?
Well, last time I actually spoke to you, we talked about General Flynn, and I said I was a General Flynn fan.
I remember.
Yes. I admired his, his record. He's a three-star general.
I remember. And did your impression of him change?
Well, I still respect that he, served the country in the past. But I would be lying to say I wasn't disappointed. He did make an error. He apologized for it, and he resigned.
The way I look at that is, to be honest, I mean, let me ask you a question, Allison. Do you remember what you had for lunch last Tuesday?
So you think he really just didn't remember that he met with the Russian ambassador?
You cannot remember every fine detail.
Yeah, but lunch is different than meeting with a Russian ambassador.
It's not when you meet with a lot of ambassadors, and that's part of your job.
If you go to social media now, you will see, diehard Hillary supporters who are adamant this is a puppet administration of Vladimir Putin. People actually think that. It's insane.
Jared Kushner is going to go speak to the Senate Intel Committee. They're interested
Yes.
in whether or not he was having a business deal with a Russian banker with ties to Putin. Let's just say that that is what it is.
But
You're comfortable with that.
I even remember during the campaign, there was mention of that, and they were open about it. That wasn't a secret during the campaign.
Yeah, I think that the number of times that he met with them was not disclosed.
Okay, we'll see how that plays out.
Vice President Dick Cheney said this week, quote, "There is no question that there was a very serious effort by Putin to interfere with our democracy." He said some would refer to that as an act of war.
There's a certain level of interaction that's going on in the intelligence community between all nations where everyone is vying for.
So you accept some meddling, you accept some spying.
Even allies.
I
Even
don't think
because
we
remember we were
It's
spying
why is
on
Trump the center of it,
we
right?
were spying on Angela Merkel.
Yeah, that's right. Why are we singling out Russia like they're so terrible?
Do you not think that Russia is worse than Germany?
I'm not really. I'm concerned about my own government. Russia, I don't think, is reading my emails. Russia's not intercepting my phone calls. Russia's not listening to conversations. Russia's not putting people in prison without indictment.
Russia is putting people in prison without indictment.
I'm talking about Americans.
Well, we have
I'm
FISA
talking about
courts. Yeah,
Americans.
I mean, come on.
We're talking about Russia, what they're doing to their citizens or what they're doing to us. How about what we're doing to ourselves?
I think we've got to get to the point where we let things like this whole Russia thing settle down and move on and let the man be president.
It's stunning. You look at voters for a Republican president in 2016, they are unrecognizable from voters, past Republican voters in past elections. We're going to hear that from Senator John McCain later. Second point I'll make, there was a Senate Intelligence Committee yesterday which almost seemed to be reaching out to everyone on that panel, except for Tonia, who seemed to be concerned about the Russians, and say, you better be concerned about this. The Russians are trying to break into this election, influence the election. It may have been the Democrat side this time, but next time it could be the Republicans. This matters, and these people, they did not seem to care.
Look, if I can sum it up, I think that they care more about issues at home. They feel this is a distraction. They think the media should move on because they think that there are more pressing issues at home. That's what I heard them say.